Judge Fines had spent over 2 decades carving a reputation as the toughest, most incorruptible judge in the state. His rulings sent notorious criminals behind bars, earning him both admiration and enemies. But on a crisp October morning, his world started to crumble. The day began like any other. He sipped his black coffee while scanning the latest headlines. Crime rates were rising, the justice system was under fire, and politicians made empty promises. Business as usual. But then, his phone buzzed. A restricted number. He answered out of habit. Judge Fines, a distorted voice rasped. Check your doorstep. And be careful who you trust. The call ended before he could respond. His gut clenched. He wasn't easily rattled, but something about the voice, cold, calculated, sent a chill down his spine. Fines walked to his front door. A small, unmarked package lay on the welcome mat. He glanced around. The street was empty. Cautiously, he picked it up and carried it inside. Peeling back the brown paper, he found a thick folder. Inside were pages of court transcripts, financial statements, and damning emails, all implicating him in a corruption scheme he knew nothing about. According to these documents, Judge Fines had been accepting bribes for years. His heart pounded. This is a setup. Before he could process the implications, his phone buzzed again. This time, it was his assistant, Michelle. Judge, we have a problem, she said, panic lacing her voice. Turn on the news. He grabbed the remote and switched to the local station. The anchor's face was grave. Breaking news. Leaked documents suggest that Judge Richard Fines, known for his hardline stance against corruption, may have been part of a deep-rooted bribery ring. According to anonymous sources, the evidence against him is overwhelming. The room spun. This wasn't just an accusation. It was a full-blown attack on his career, his legacy. And whoever was behind it had planned it perfectly. Fines clenched his fists. He wasn't going down without a fight. But first, he needed to find out who wanted to destroy him and why. Judge Fines barely had time to process the news before his phone rang again. This time, it was an old friend, Detective Marcus Hayes. Rich, tell me you didn't see this coming, Marcus said, his voice heavy. You think this is real? Fines shot back. You know me better than that. I do. But the public doesn't. And whoever set this up, they've done their homework. The DA's office is already preparing an indictment. They want you off the bench immediately. Fines gritted his teeth. Indictment? That meant this wasn't just a smear campaign. It was a full-blown takedown. I need to know where this came from, Marcus. The detective sighed. I'll see what I can find. But you're on your own for now. And, Rich, be careful. The call ended, leaving Fines standing in the center of his kitchen, gripping his phone like a lifeline. His whole career, his life was unraveling. Just then, a knock at the door made him tense. Through the peephole, he saw a familiar face, Michelle, his assistant. She looked pale, shaken. He let her in. Tell me you have good news. I don't, she said, voice trembling. The court administrators are demanding you take a leave of absence. They've already locked you out of your office. And, she hesitated. Someone sent this to the courthouse this morning. She handed him another envelope. This one contained a single printed photo, an image of Fines shaking hands with a well-known crime boss, Angelo Moretti. The timestamp in the corner made it look like it was taken just a few months ago. The problem? That meeting never happened. This is fake, Fines muttered. It doesn't matter, Michelle whispered. The court thinks it's real. The media thinks it's real. And by the time we prove it's not, it won't matter. Fines felt the walls closing in. Someone had gone to extreme lengths to frame him. And the worst part? It was working. He needed to move fast. He needed proof of his innocence. And he needed to find out who wanted him buried before they succeeded. Judge Fines had spent his life dissecting cases, unraveling lies, and exposing corruption. Now, he was the one in the crosshairs. But he wasn't going to sit back and watch his reputation burn. He picked up his phone and dialed the only person who might be able to help, Vincent Carter, a high-profile defense attorney with a reputation for taking impossible cases. Rich, I was wondering when you'd call, Vincent said smoothly. You've seen the news? It's everywhere. They've already painted you as guilty. If you don't get ahead of this, you're done. I need to find out who's behind this, Fines said. And I need it fast. Vincent exhaled. The first rule in cases like this? Follow the money. Fines already knew that. But something about this setup felt different, too personal, too calculated. I'll have my people start digging, Vincent continued. But you need to lay low. If this is as big as I think it is, you've got bigger problems than just bad press. Fines clenched his jaw. He wasn't the type to hide. One more thing, Vincent added. There's a rumor that the person pushing this case hardest is someone inside the system. Someone who's been waiting for a chance to take you down. Fines' mind raced. Over the years, he had made plenty of enemies, corrupt politicians, crime lords, even fellow judges who didn't appreciate his relentless pursuit of justice. But who would go this far? Then, a name clicked into place. District Attorney Charles Vance. Vance had always hated him, saw him as an obstacle, a man who refused to play politics. But could he be the mastermind behind this takedown? Before he could think further, his phone buzzed again. A text message. Meet me at the old courthouse parking lot. Midnight. I know who's behind this. No name. No number. Fines stared at the message. This could be a setup. It could be a trap. But it could also be the only lead he had. He had no choice. At midnight, he'd be there. The night was cold, the streets eerily quiet as Judge Fines pulled into the abandoned courthouse parking lot. His headlights cut through the darkness, illuminating cracked pavement and faded parking lines. He killed the engine and waited. The city's legal district had long since moved to a new building, leaving this place a forgotten relic. The perfect spot for a secret meeting or an ambush. His fingers tightened around the small revolver tucked into his coat pocket. He wasn't a man who carried weapons, but desperate times called for desperate measures. A figure emerged from the shadows. Tall, hooded, moving with caution. Fines stepped out of his car, keeping his posture relaxed but alert. You wanted to talk? Let's talk. The figure pulled back the hood, revealing a familiar face, Detective Marcus Hayes. Jesus, Marcus, Fines exhaled. You could have just called. Marcus looked rough, like he hadn't slept in days. His eyes darted around, scanning the lot before speaking. I don't have much time. They're watching me too. Who's they? Vance and his people. Marcus stepped closer. You were right, Rich. This whole thing is a setup. The bribery accusations, the fake photos, hell, they've even got a fabricated witness lined up. It's airtight. Fine's stomach clenched. So it's Vance. Not just him, Marcus said. It's bigger than that. The people pulling the strings aren't just going after your career. They want you dead. A chill ran down Fine's spine. Why? Marcus hesitated. Because you saw something you weren't supposed to. Fines frowned. What the hell are you talking about? A case you ruled on 6 months ago. The Moretti trial. Angelo Moretti, the crime boss who had barely escaped conviction. The evidence had been stacked against him, but key witnesses had gone missing, and the jury mysteriously flipped at the last minute. I don't recall seeing anything out of place, Fines said. That's the point. They made sure you didn't. But I found something. Marcus glanced around again, his paranoia growing. I need you to see it for yourself. It's all on a hard drive. Fines felt his pulse quicken. This was it. The evidence that could clear his name and expose the real corruption. Where is it? He asked. Marcus reached into his coat, but before he could pull anything out, bang! A single gunshot shattered the silence. Marcus staggered backward, blood blooming across his chest. His eyes widened in shock as he crumpled to the ground. Fines ducked instinctively, drawing his weapon. His heart pounded as he scanned the darkness. A car engine roared to life in the distance, tires screeching as it sped away. Damn it! He rushed to Marcus, pressing a hand against the wound. Stay with me. Blood seeped between his fingers. Marcus struggled to speak, his voice barely a whisper. Locker. 319, train station. His body went limp. Fines clenched his jaw, fury rising in his chest. His friend had just been executed right in front of him. And now, he had only one lead left. Locker 319. Whatever was inside would either clear his name or get him killed. Judge Fines left the courthouse parking lot with blood on his hands, literally and figuratively. Marcus Hayes had died protecting a truth too dangerous to keep, and now it was on him to finish what his friend had started. Locker 319. The train station. Fines didn't go straight there. He knew better. If someone had taken out Marcus, they'd be watching the locker too. Instead, he took a detour, ditching his car in a long-term parking garage and switching to a rideshare under a fake name. By the time he arrived at Grand Central Station, the place was alive with commuters. The perfect place to blend in. He moved through the crowd, keeping his head low. At the far end of the station, past the main platforms, stood a row of old storage lockers. They were barely used now, replaced by modern rental services. But some people like Marcus, still relied on them for discreet exchanges. Locker 319 was near the middle. He reached into his pocket, pulling out the universal locker key Marcus had slipped him weeks ago during a casual coffee meetup. At the time, he hadn't thought much of it. Now, he realized Marcus had been planning for this. Fines slid the key into the lock and turned it. Click. The door creaked open, revealing a black duffel bag. He grabbed it and quickly moved to a secluded corner of the station before unzipping it. Inside was a hard drive wrapped in a protective case, a burner phone, and a stack of printed documents. He plugged the hard drive into his laptop right there in the station. He needed to know what was worth killing Marcus over. As the files loaded, his blood ran cold. Inside were bank statements, wire transfers, and emails, all connecting District Attorney Charles Vance to criminal organizations, dirty cops, and corrupt politicians. But that wasn't the worst part. There was a surveillance video. He clicked play. The grainy footage showed a private meeting room, likely in some luxury hotel. Seated at the table were Vance and Angelo Moretti. The two men were laughing, drinking whiskey, shaking hands. Then, Vance leaned in and slid a thick envelope across the table. Moretti smirked, taking it. Then, in chillingly clear audio, Vance spoke. "Don't worry about Judge Fines. We'll handle him." Fines' heart pounded. This wasn't just a setup. This was a death sentence. The DA himself had orchestrated the entire thing. The bribery accusations, the fake photos, the witness tampering, it had all been a smokescreen. And now, with Marcus dead, Fines was the last loose end. His phone buzzed. An unknown number. He hesitated before answering. Judge Fines, a deep voice said, calm and confident. "I hope you're ready to run." The call ended. Fines stared at the screen, his mind racing. They knew. They were coming. And now, it was him against the system. Judge Fines had spent his career ensuring justice was served. Now, he was the one running from it, or rather, from the corrupted version that Vance and Moretti controlled. He didn't have time to sit and process what he'd just seen. They were coming. Instead of panicking, Fines took a breath. Think like a judge. Think like a survivor. He grabbed the burner phone from the duffel bag and dialed the only person who could still help, Vincent Carter. "Vincent, listen to me. I have proof, real proof, of Vance's corruption. But they know I have it. Marcus is dead. I need a way out, and I need to bring this public before they bury me too." Vincent cursed under his breath. "Where are you?" "Grand Central. But I won't be here long." "Good. Get moving. I have a contact at an independent news outlet. People who won't be bought. Get to them before Vance's people catch up. And, Rich, ditch your phone. If they're tracking you, you won't make it 5 blocks." Fines didn't need to be told twice. He snapped his personal phone in half, tossed it in the nearest trash bin, and pocketed the burner. Then he moved. Fast. The moment Fines stepped outside the train station, he felt it. Eyes on him. A black SUV idled near the curb. Another car was parked across the street, 2 men in suits sitting inside, trying too hard to look casual. Vance's people. They weren't here to talk. Fines turned away, blending into the rush hour crowd. He walked briskly but not too fast. "Don't look like you're running." His destination? A parking garage 2 blocks away. Vincent had arranged a car for him, an unregistered vehicle with no ties to his name. If he could reach it, he had a shot at making it out alive. Halfway there, he caught movement in his peripheral vision. One of the suited men was following. Then the second one. Fines ducked into an alleyway. Bad idea. A third man was already there, waiting. A trap. He turned back, but the first 2 men were already closing in. Judge Fines, the leader said, stepping forward with a smirk. "Let's not make this difficult." Fines scanned his surroundings. 3 men. Armed, most likely. No way out except one. He faked a surrender. He raised his hand slightly, taking a slow step forward. The leader smirked wider, stepping closer. Then a Fines struck. A hard punch to the throat took the leader down gasping. He grabbed the man's gun before the others could react. 2 shots. One hit the second guy in the leg, the other made the third duck for cover. Fines bolted. He sprinted out of the alley, weaving through traffic as bullets whizzed past. The parking garage was close, too close for them to shoot without drawing attention. He dove behind a parked car just as tires screeched. Vincent's contact, a gray sedan, engine running. Fines didn't hesitate. He jumped in. Drive. The car peeled out just as the hitman recovered. He was alive. For now. But the real fight was just beginning. Vincent's contact was good. Real good. Within an hour, Fines was in a secure location, uploading the damning evidence. The video of Vance and Moretti. The wire transfers. The witness tampering documents. Vincent had pulled in every connection he had. The story broke on every major news outlet at once. Judge Fines wasn't corrupt. The system was. The fallout was immediate. Vance was arrested. The FBI raided his office within 24 hours. Moretti disappeared, either in hiding or dead. But Fines? He wasn't safe. Not yet. He sat in Vincent's office, watching the news coverage. The reporters called him a hero, a man who exposed the truth. But Fines knew better. Justice had been served, but the war wasn't over. Because if Vance and Moretti were willing to go this far to protect their empire, then there were more of them. And Judge Fines wasn't done fighting. Not yet. Judge Fines watched the chaos unfold on the news. Breaking news: District Attorney Charles Vance arrested in corruption scandal. Crime boss Angelo Moretti missing, presumed on the run. Judge Richard Fines vindicated. But is the fight over? His name was everywhere. Cleared. Restored. But that didn't mean he was safe. FBI agents had taken Vance into custody, and the DA's office was imploding under the weight of the scandal. Judges, politicians, and officers were all being investigated. It was the kind of victory that should have felt satisfying. But Fiennes wasn't celebrating, because Moretti was still out there. And men like him didn't just disappear. Vincent poured 2 glasses of whiskey and slid one across the table. You did it, Rich. Fiennes took the glass but didn't drink. Not yet. Vincent sighed. Come on. The system is finally cleaning itself up because of you. Enjoy it while it lasts. Fiennes shook his head. He knew better. The system didn't clean itself up. It just hit its dirt better. Moretti's gone, Fiennes said. But not dead. Which means he's planning something. Vincent leaned back. And what do you want to do? Go hunting. Fiennes didn't answer right away. He looked down at the files in front of him, evidence that proved Moretti had deeper ties than anyone realized. There were more names. More powerful people. Vance had been the face of the corruption. But Moretti? He was just a piece of something bigger. Fiennes took a slow breath. He had a choice. He could walk away. Let the system take care of itself. Or he could keep fighting. Keep hunting. He downed the whiskey, set the glass down, and met Vincent's gaze. Find Moretti. Vincent smirked. Thought you'd say that. The war wasn't over. It was just beginning. The end? Or just the start?